All right, in Poland Pickup, you're going to find an Illustrator file called last name Pen Tool. Remember that you should be copying this to your folder in schools. I do not have a folder in schools. Do not copy it to your desktop. First thing you're going to need to do is rename it. So click on it once to select, and then click on the text a second time so that you can rename. And you're going to put your period number, underscore, your last name, and then keep pen tool there at the end. Once you're done, go ahead and open it. Don't know why, my computer's taking its own sweet time tonight. All right, now, as you read earlier in the challenge, Adobe Illustrator is a software program, a graphics program that's used to create vector graphics. That means that it's a mathematical equation that is making the lines as opposed to little pixels of color in a bitmap or raster graphic like a photograph or in Photoshop. So this is the template that you're going to wind up with, okay? You should, when you open it, it should automatically go on the Work Here layer. However, you should double check that. I'm going to zoom in so that we can see one of these exercises at a time, okay? Now, we're going to use the pen tool for all of these exercises, and there's a few quick and easy things for you to know that are going to make the pen tool easier for you to use. Now, for instance, we're going to go, you'll see the numbers. That basically means we're going to go from one number to the next. Okay? So if I start here at number 1, all I'm going to do is I'm going to click, and then I am, actually, let me Command Z because I want to do something else first. For your colors, let's make sure that your fill color is set to transparent. Let's go ahead and set your stroke to red, 2 point. That way it makes it easier for us to see. All right. Now, for straight lines, click, click, there's a straight line. And as long as you keep clicking and you don't deselect, it's going to continue to make straight lines, and it's going to put an anchor point at each time you click. Okay, so there you have a very easy straight line. Now, if you hold down the Command key and click, that's going to deselect, but keep the pen tool open so we can go to the next one. All right, now, these straight lines all have something in common. They're either horizontal, vertical, or diagonal. So they're all within 45 degrees. The reason this is important to realize is because as we go from one dot to the next, oops, and I realize that I just missed a number there. I apologize. If we hold down the Shift key, it will draw it in a perfectly straight line. So I'm going to click here at number 1 to make my first point. I'm going to hold down my Shift key, and there we go. Shift, 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 and Shift and click. And there we go. Perfectly straight. Now, these curved lines are going to be a little bit different. Okay? And I want you to watch what I do first before you try to follow along. Now, there's 2 sets here. We have numbers. This is where we click and make our anchor points. We also have these letters that are pointing a certain way. Okay? So this means we're going to drag up. Pointing down means we're dragging down. So what I'm going to do is instead of just clicking on my first point, I'm going to click and I'm going to, oops, I forgot to deselect on my last one. Sorry. Command, click. Oops, that wasn't Command. That was Shift. Command, click. Now I've deselected. All right, so now I'm going to click and drag up to the A. And you notice when I click and drag, it creates a handle. This isn't actually a line that it's drawing. It's what's called a Bezier handle, which is basically a control handle of how these curves work. I'm going to let go of my mouse, and then I can let go of my Shift key. I was using the Shift key to make sure that my line was straight. Okay? Now, I'm going to click here next to the 2, but I'm not going to let go of the mouse. I'm going to click and drag down to the B. Now, look how that goes. It made a perfectly curved line over that shape. I'm going to go ahead and let go of my mouse and let go of the Shift key. And I'm going to come over here to the 3, and I'm going to drag up to the C. Click and drag. Okay, and there it is. It's a little off, but that's okay. And then my last one, click and drag. Okay, so those are Bezier handles that allow you to make curved lines. I'm going to control or command click to deselect. And then you can rewind that little piece to do it again if you need to. And I'm going to go down to the hinged curved lines. Now, this was like a wave, okay? This is the same curve with hinges in between, okay? Now, it's going to start off the same in that I'm going to click and drag up, okay? And then I go to point number 2, and I'm going to click and I'm going to drag down. Now, before I let go, I am going to hold my Option key, and I'm going to drag that other handle up here next to the original one. Then I'm going to let go of my mouse and the Option key, and I'm going to go to number 3, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag down. And notice by using that Option key to move that other handle, that allowed that hinge to take place. Okay, and I've got my last one. Click and drag. And then I don't have anywhere else to go, so I can just release, and I can command click to deselect. Then I'm going to come down here where I'm going to curved into straight line. So we've done a curve before. I'm going to click and drag to start my control handle, and then I'm going to click and drag to make my curve. Then while I still have it hold down, I'm going to hold down my Option key, and I'm going to move my handle over here. And then when I let go, I can simply click on that last point, and it made a straight line off of that. So you notice that wherever that handle was pointing, that's where that next piece goes. So I'm going to command click to deselect, and now I'm going to go to the last one, a straight into a curved line. Okay, so on this last one with the pen tool, we're going to click to make our first anchor point. Then we're going to hold down the Shift key, that way it makes a perfectly straight line, and we make that second anchor point. Now this is where we have to make a curve, and right now there's no handles because all we made, or no visible handles, because we made a straight line. Now notice that if I position the pen over this second anchor point, you see that little arrow to the bottom right? That means that we can convert this anchor point. We can change this anchor point, change the direction of the handle. So if I click on that using that little arrow at the bottom of it, I can drag up, and now look, I have a direction handle. And then when I click here, there's the curve that's going to allow me to bring the direction handle down on the right side. And if I command click, that will deselect. So all of these are very basic pen shapes, and the only way to get better at the pen is to practice it. But if you'll remember the direction handles, remember the Option key to change the direction that the handles are going, and then also remember the little arrow at the bottom right of the pen. You'll notice also here is that convert anchor point. If you ever needed to delete an anchor point or add an anchor point, those are there too. You also have your direct selection tool. Let me zoom in again. And with the direct selection tool, you can push and pull on handles to reshape anything that is a path. Okay, you can find anchor points and push and pull on those as well with this direct selection tool. So even after you have your path drawn, if there's part of it that you want to change or fix, you still have a lot of power in this tool and all of these docked here in order to do that. Go ahead and make sure that you save this file, and once you save it, you're also going to want to save it as a JPEG by going to Save for Web and Devices. Now, just because those were graphics, now that we're saving this as a JPEG, it does actually flatten it into a bitmap image. And I forgot to do something first. Before you save it as a JPEG, turn the visibility off on layer 1 so that I can see just your red lines. Then go to File, Save for Web and Devices. Right up here, choose JPEG, click Save, and it's going to go into your schools folder, with the same name, and that JPEG file is the one that you are going to insert into your Google site. Okay,